Welcome back to the cottage, everyone. Today I'm doing a deep cleaning of multiple areas that many people tend to forget about or push off until later. I would say I have a pretty good cleaning schedule and routine. I have plenty of resets, whether that's daily, weekly, or monthly, that help me keep the cleaning going continuously so that it doesn't all pile up and become an overwhelming chore. And so I do things like sweeping every day. I wipe down the counters and the table, and I clean the bathroom on rotation regularly. But there's still this list of items that I tend to not prioritize. I put them off until later, and later now is today. I want to tackle all of these items and just get them all done. And if you're like me and you have certain chores that just don't seem to get in the rotation as often as they should, then I hope that you'll join me today as I do a deep cleaning of the cottage. Before I get started, I just wanted to point out that all of the cleaning I'm going to be tackling today is going to be accomplished using the items you see here plus water. So really basic things most people probably have in their homes. My cleaning spray bottle is running low. I figured this would be a good time to show you how I make it. I do use a recipe from the website Hearty Soul, and I'll have that website linked down below if you'd like to try it out. I tweak the amounts slightly so that all of the liquid will fit into the bottle that I have, but I found this DIY cleaner to be very effective. Pretty much the only thing I don't use it on is glass or any wood surfaces that are really delicate. So I recommend that you do shake it well before every use, and after that it's basically good to go. I'm going to start by cleaning the china cabinet. So the inside of the cabinet does stay relatively dust-free, but it's not 100% of course. The outside though is another story. It has this wooden grill on the front of the glass that tends to be a dust magnet with all of these little ledges between the pieces of glass, so I need to clean them all out. And china cabinets in general are notorious for being forgotten about, as we rarely reach for the things inside of them. I know in ours, most of these items are not used very often, or I'll just take a piece out here and there as I need them. And so what I tend to do is I tend to wash the pieces before I use them instead of going through and washing all of the items in the cabinet. But I do like to take time and clean off the shelves on occasion, and then of course the outside as well. Next up is the fireplace insert, another spot that can get pretty dusty. We have an electric insert that is open to the room, so the fake logs and the coals beneath it, they do collect dust. By the way, there are a couple of things that do allow me to get this more deep cleaning level done here in our home. The first is that we live a minimalist lifestyle, and I don't have to spend a lot of time dealing with clutter. Now, we haven't always been minimalist, so before, when we had a really cluttered house, it would spend all of my time and energy dealing with stuff, moving it from here to there and trying to organize to make things fit. And it was very rare at that time to get a really good deep cleaning done, because basically all I seemed to have time for was surface level cleaning. The other aspect that has helped a lot when it comes to being able to keep everything clean has to do with the fact that we live a very home-centered life. My husband and I both work from home, and we're here for the majority of our days. And being here allows me to do a little cleaning as I see the need for it. And I just want to acknowledge that if you have a full-time job outside of the home, it's likely going to take a little bit more intentional effort on your part just to make sure that the cleaning tasks do get done routinely. That's why lists like this or creating your own lists are going to be really important. And also having daily, weekly, and monthly resets will be really helpful to you. I've had questions before about the chairs we have at our dining table, and so I thought I would just answer those now. They were purchased from an antique store as a full set of 8, and they looked just like this when we brought them home. I tried to find out more about the era from which they were made, and I landed on probably they're between the 20s or 30s. They are in pristine condition for their age. I know that the antique store that we bought them from had done a bit of restoration, and they did a really good job on that. So we just love them so much, and putting in a little bit of extra care to keeping them in good shape is totally fine in my book. Now, cleaning chairs at the dining table is something I think is overlooked quite often, but yet they are used routinely. There's lots of spills and things that get on them. So if you haven't cleaned your chairs in a while, this is a little bit of encouragement, a little nudge to tackle that job as well. Our living room chairs are also vintage. If you're fairly new to my channel, you might not know that I bought them at a Habitat Restore, and it was $30 for the pair of these 2 chairs, which I couldn't believe. It was a huge bargain. That was a couple of years ago that I bought them. I've always loved the look of velvet tufting. I just don't think I would have dared to or been brave enough to bring them into our house when our kids were little, with the fears of spills on this more delicate fabric. But now that our kids are older, they are a great piece. They are great pieces to have in our living room. They add so much character, and they make me smile every time I see them. We have 3 levels in our home, and that equals 34 steps, each with a white riser. Generally, they do stay pretty clean, but after a while, I start to notice a bit of scuffing, and that's when I try to just get them all cleaned up and taken care of at once. After cleaning the risers, I go back and scrub down all the treads as well, and as you can see, the bucket of water is ready for a refill already. And the handrail is another spot that I need to remember to clean. Raise your hand if you put this chore off or forget about it like I do. Moving into the kitchen, there are always plenty of things to freshen up in here. I'm going to start with the range hood. This is one of my favorite things in our entire house. I just love the sculptural look of it, but again, it is a dust magnet, and it takes a little climbing to get it cleaned. Maybe your clean air vent in your kitchen is more simple than this one. It might even be built in underneath the microwave if your microwave is above the stove, but I'm willing to bet that whatever your vent looks like, the grease filter could use a good wash. I like to let mine soak in the sink with some hot water and Dawn dish soap while I focus on a few other areas of cleaning. Some people who watch this video are going to think it's insane that our house has white cabinetry and walls throughout, especially with 5 kids living here. But I've said before, I prefer to see the dirt and grime so that I can be sure to clean it off. And just because a cabinet is brown or the walls are a dark color, it doesn't mean that there isn't grime on it. It just means you can't see it as easily. So to me, it's peace of mind to know that everything is actually clean. I'm going to switch gears a bit and move on to window cleaning. This is one of the main times of year that I like to get the glass as clean as possible. With winter coming and the sunlight hours being minimal, I want all of those rays to just easily flow into the house and to brighten up our spaces. It always makes me laugh when I clean the windows in the main living area that the smudges are always on the same windows and in the same spots. Like the kids have a preferred spot to look out the window and they press their foreheads up against the glass. Baseboards are always a pain to clean, and so I don't get to them very often at all, but I do like to, on occasion, go around with, again, that bucket of warm water with soap in it and just clean off any scuff marks, any food splatters if we're by the dining table, and just get them all freshened up. We've lived here for almost 4 years now, and I'm noticing that some of our trim is going to be needing to be repainted again here pretty soon, and that's another way to freshen things up, but I'm not going to tackle that today. After cleaning the baseboards, I'm reminded that I also should take a look at the trim and see if there's any dust being held on that. Typically that would be above door frames or windows, and again, we just have that thicker trim there that has that ledge that can collect dust. So I just went around with some soapy water and cleaned those off as well. This set of French doors is very special to our family. It's a vintage piece that came out of my husband's grandparents' farmhouse, and we're so happy to have it. But again, it has that same thing where there's little pieces of glass in between trim pieces, and the dust just kind of collects on that trim. And so it's a little bit more finicky to clean, but again, it's a labor of love that I'm happy to do. This time of year, it's also a good idea to clean out any vents that you have. So if you have forced air, you might have floor vents and also return vents in your walls. And these can get pretty dusty. I would recommend every year or two to have someone come through and do a vacuuming of your duct system if you have forced air, because this can be a fire hazard. But when you're cleaning them, just make sure you take off the floor vents and scoop out anything that you see in there that you can reach with your hand, and then clean around it, and then just clean off any gunk that you have. This will actually make your system more efficient through the winter months when you are heating your home. We have a few of these light fixtures in our home that have the clear glass shade, and I love the look of them, but they do get dirty, and so I have to take time to get a little stepladder out and clean them off. All I need for this job is just some water and a good rag and clean them off, and it's amazing to me how much more light shines out of them when they aren't covered in dust. Light switch plates and outlet covers also tend to be forgotten about or pushed to the side, and they get smudged as well. And so taking a damp rag and just going around cleaning them all off at one time is a quick, easy way to get that job done and to check it off of your list. Our shower heads could also use a bit of a cleaning. We do have a soft water system throughout our home, but even still, they sometimes will build up residue. And so a trick that I like to use is to fill a baggie halfway full with vinegar and then to tie it directly onto the shower head, either with a zip tie, rubber band, let it soak for an hour or more. Sometimes I'll have it soaking while I'm doing other cleaning chores, then come back with an old toothbrush and scrub off anything that you can get off. And then just be sure to run the water out of the shower head for about 5 minutes or so, just to make sure that all that vinegar is out before you use your shower. Thank you so much for coming along today as I deep cleaned here at the cottage. I hope that you were as productive as I was. I know it feels great to have all of these items now checked off of my list, and it allows my mind to really free up some mental space to be able to focus on what is coming next, which is Christmas. I'll be decorating for that here very soon, and so you can be watching for a video on that process in the next week or two. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope that you'll stop by the cottage again really soon.